Welcome to the ninth installment of No Agenda Hockey. My co host Chief will not be with me today. We might record something later tonight or tomorrow will probably won't happen because I'm going to be going to the tugboats. But a lot of things have been going on. I didn't want to go another day without at least having another live show. And there's a lot to talk around the NHL, a lot of interesting news. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going around the league. And before we got to get into the video, or I should say the live stream, appreciate if you drop a like on this stream. If you are watching, it helps out the channel immensely. And if you're watching this in post, still drop a like, comment down below your thoughts, and just let me know what you think about the various subjects we will cover during this show. English is not my first language, apparently. So we'll get into the first one. Chychrun signs an 8-year deal, $72 million contract with the Capitals. And I think this is a very, very smart move for the Capitals. They bring back Chychrun, who's been very good, career high 43 points. Let's kind of go into the details. Jacob Chychrun signed a 8-year, $72 million contract with the Washington Capitals on Tuesday. It will begin next season as an average annual value of $9 million. And I don't think that's a bad cap hit for a guy like Chychrun, who, if he hits the open market, he's 26 years old. I think that's probably the going rate of what he would get, especially with the cap going up. The 26-year-old defenseman has a career-high 43 points and is tied his career high with 18 goals in 65 games played this season. He is a plus 24, ranks first among NHL defensemen in game-winning goals 6, and tied for second in power play goals, and third in goals. He could have become an unrestricted free agent after the season. Capitals general manager Chris Patrick had this to say: Jacob is a proven dynamic defenseman in the prime of his career who established himself as one of the premier blue liners in the NHL. His work ethic, skill set, and ability to excel in all situations at both ends of the ice make him a valuable asset to our team. He is a perfect fit for our culture and vision for the future, and we couldn't be more thrilled that he will continue to be part of our organization for the next 8 years. Chychrun is this is his first season in Washington after being acquired from the Ottawa Senators for defenseman Nick Jensen and a third-round pick. I mean, that's a good get. I think most of us know about his tenure with the Arizona Coyotes. It was one of the lone bright spots on that franchise for a while. So I think, all in all, I think this makes a lot of sense. You lock up for a guy throughout his whole prime with Chychrun, who's shown you in his first year he can be that guy. And it's not just like this is a flash-in-the-pan type situation. Things could have been better in Ottawa, and I don't think that was just solely on him. I think there was a lot of issues in Ottawa the year before. But, I mean, he showed in Arizona, like, his potential. And this year, I mean, he's one of the main reasons that the Washington Capitals have made such a drastic turnaround. I mean, that top six and their defense is so damn good. They're just a difficult team to play against. They can lock you down, and they can score a bunch. And honestly, with how Washington is built and how they have built their blue lines, I mean, they should be an extremely good team for a long time, in my personal opinion. They have Logan Thompson locked up, Chychrun locked up, and you could kind of go more into the Puckpedia and see a little bit more of the contracts. And I don't know why I made an oopsie here with my one of my things on the screen, but hey, it is what it is. Switch it now. But I think good signing, $9 million per year. Probably around what he would have got in the open market, especially with the upside that he showcases. All in all, solid deal. Very, very, very solid deal for the Washington Capitals. What's going to be interesting, again, is, talking about this Capitals team, we'll also kind of include this into the conversation. Ovechkin is 7 goals away from making history. It is incredible to me when it comes to Alexander Ovechkin that he is able to, he'll definitely break that record, whether it's most likely this season or next. When Gretzky had that record, nobody thought anybody would be able to get close to him at all, because the amount of goals you would need to score, the amount of seasons you needed to play, you'd have to consistently score at a high clip, and the goal scoring, while the stick technology and the techniques and just the overall skill of the players has improved, so is the goaltending. And I'm not knocking Gretzky when I say this, but, it was a little bit easier back then to score, right? With the technique of the goaltenders now, that's just they're so good for the most part that it's harder to score now. It really is. And what Ovechkin's going to be able to do, being the best goal scorer in NHL history, is absolutely insane. Now, I know there's going to be some argument that Mario Lemieux, if he played a full career, could have broken Gretzky's record. And if you look at the trajectory, I mean, that is a very good. You could definitely see that happening. And Mario Lemieux was phenomenally talented, but unfortunately, we don't know because his career was shortened. And while sure, maybe he keeps on that pace, we have seen some great players as they get older because of the wear and tear. They would slow down a little bit as they get older, but sure, maybe Mario Lemieux would have been the guy because I've seen that in conversation. I've even seen some of the talk about, well, if you include playoff goals, then Ovechkin still has a lot more to go. I don't really like that argument per se because I don't think it really does the conversation justice. Because what do we base it on? The regular season, because that's the season everybody plays, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. If we start including playoff points, there'll be a lot more players in different all-time lists or slotted in different spots in the all-time list. So, but it is impressive what Ovechkin's been able to do, and that team in Washington's been able to really just kind of thrive around it. It's been incredible what they've been able to do. They've been one of the best teams in the NHL this year, and nobody expected that. I mean, I thought they'd be better than last year, where they were kind of a bubble playoff team, but you weren't really sure. I mean, PLD, he has the reputation to be a locker room cancer. Would he fit in Washington? He's been great there. You know, what are you going to get from Ovechkin? Is it going to be the second half of the season guy you saw last year or the first half? There was genuine concerns. Like, yeah, he heated up, but he can't keep doing that. And while he had that injury, I mean, the amount of goals he's been able to have this season, considering he was out for a significant portion of time, is crazy. Ovechkin's production has been great. And while, sure, point out the empty net goals, he's still scored a lot of goals with the goaltender still in the net as well. So it's been impressive what I think Ovechkin's been able to do and what that Capitals team as an organization has been able to do overall. Now, I do want to cover this, the Jeremy Swayman, Darcy Kempfer almost fight. That's been talked about, especially in Bruin circles. Now, I would have loved to see a goaltender fight. That would have been a lot of fun to watch. I think when the goalies drop the mitts and just start punching each other's faces, I think that everybody loves. That fans of all creeds can understand that a goalie fights, there's nothing really better than that. But I will say, I want Jeremy Swayman at least to focus on maybe stopping pucks before he's getting involved in the physical side of the game. You know, I know frustration can build and things of that nature, but he lit up 7 against the LA Kings, and it just continues this trend of extremely poor play from Swayman right now. He's got to be better. He just has not been good. And I'll say this, as a Bruins fan, he has me worried about what's going to be his mentality and how will he play going from this point forward. Because as a Bruins fan, you want to hope that this is the outlier season, that this year, it was just, okay, rough year, a lot of moving parts, a lot of injuries, and just an off year. But it seems like Swayman wants to get involved in the wrong things. It seems like Swayman's focus isn't where it should be. I mean, if I'm getting lit up by 7, I need to focus on stopping a puck before I'm trying to get into a physical fight with Kemper. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. And you could tell with Zadorov's comments after the game, I think even in that locker room, Swayman is starting to lose some guys or has already lost some guys. Because, sure, not all those goals are on him, but at some point in time, you need your goaltender to make a damn save. And you're not going to win any NHL game when your goalie lets up 7 unless you have some historic offense. He's just not been good enough this year. And again, it's not all on him, but I would say those Zadorov comments, or even no comment there, I don't think things are great between Swayman and some of his teammates. I think they just want him to focus on what he should be focusing on, and that is stopping the goddamn puck. So for me, that would be my criticism of Swayman. I don't mind a goalie fight. Would have been kind of fun to see, but he's got more important things to kind of focus on before he gets lost in the sauce of just trying to punch another goalie in the face. And there were some funny comments like, well, Darcy Kempfer wouldn't be able to land a punch because Swayman dodges everything. So, yeah, I mean, just absolutely would have been cool, but that's just kind of my take on it. And Bruins fans, I do want to say this. The Bruins losing is actually a good thing. And the reason I'll say that is the Bruins currently are in a situation now that they're not going to make the playoffs. And if they did make the playoffs by some miraculous comeback where they just won out the rest of the year, right? They would get their ass kicked in the first round. So they're kind of in this situation as a Bees fan. They were in the contention and the thick of it for most of the season, even with the injuries, which I respect to a degree. But now you kind of understand, like, even if they make it, they really don't got a shot here. To me, looking at the playoff picture, or the standings around the league, the Bruins currently sit 24. I could see Pittsburgh passing them. I could see the Ducks passing them because they got games in hand. Same with the Kraken. I think feasibly with this current version of the Bruins, it is not out of the realm of possibility of the Bruins sliding down to maybe 28 or 29. And while at that spot, you're not automatically slotted to get like a guy like Misa from Saginaw, who's a tremendous player. You get moved up in the draft. They're able to make sure you get a top tier type talent. I think it's in the best interest of the Bruins to lose. Yeah, it sucks to watch the Bruins be so poor this year, but I am just accepting defeat. I mean, they have 69 points. Buffalo won against Winnipeg last night, which was like, what the hell? Buffalo's got, 3 games in hand. So let's say they win that out. That's 6. I mean, it's within reason. The Bruins I could see fall off the cliff here, especially with how, letting up 7 is just embarrassing, and then the game before that was even more embarrassing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if the Bruins really do play awful and just lose out. And maybe you give some of the younger guys some experience and some NHL action and see how things go. But to me, that's the silver lining in this season. The Bruins losing out, not really being in contention, is kind of a good thing. They aren't going to do anything this year. They don't have the horses offensively or defensively, honestly, with the McAvoy and Lindholm injuries. And it enables to get you a better prospect. And let's say you even fall outside that top 2. Let's say it's like the 4th, 5th, or 6th pick. You still get a quality NHL prospect, whether it's a forward or defenseman. Honestly, the Bruins do need a forward. It would be amazing in the lottery if somehow the Bruins did get in the top 2, top 1, or the first spot, and they were able to draft a guy like Misa. I think that could be game-changing for a team like the Bruins that really do need that high-profile prospect to just give them something offensively, something dynamic offensively. But still, even if it's outside of that, there's some quality players in this draft within the top 8 that maybe not impactful next year, but as a Bees fan that a lot of Bruins fans complain about the prospects within the pipeline, that gives you a blue chip. That gives you somebody you feel like can really be impactful, whether it's next year, 2 years, or 3 years down the line. When they reach the NHL level, they're going to be really, really friggin' good. So, that's kind of the silver lining of that as a Bruins fan. So, we'll kind of go into around the league, the playoff pictures. As I bring this back up on screen. So, wild card. So we got some things interesting going on here. Obviously, the Florida Panthers, top of the Atlantic, but Toronto Maple Leafs, they're right on their heels with 87. Tampa Bay, 85. all these teams are extremely good, very good teams. Florida, I still, out of that top three in the Atlantic, I think is the most well-rounded and the best team. But Toronto and Tampa, again, very good teams in their own right. We've talked about Washington earlier in this live stream. 102 points on the year. They've had a tremendous year. Carolina is 9-1 in their last 10. They've been extremely good. They have turned things around. Maybe, I don't know, maybe kind of switching things up and getting a malignant tumor out of your locker room that didn't want to be there. Kind of solidified some things, right? A team that's third spot in that Metro has been struggling is the New Jersey Devils. I mean, overtime loss last night. And we've seen the comments about Sheldon Keefe, and yeah, it's not. It's interesting. I don't really believe in him as a head coach, but that's neither here nor there. But the New Jersey Devils do have talent on that roster when they're healthy. They got to play better. But with the wild card situation, looking at it, currently sitting in first in the Eastern Conference would be the Ottawa Senators. They're a team that I'm happy to see kind of bounce back. They have the goaltending, they have the offense, they have the defense, and they have really done well second half of the season for the most part. And with Omar kind of giving them the solidified goaltending they desperately needed for so many years, that's a team, while they're a wild card team, there's that threat of that goaltender getting extremely hot, and with the talent they have on that roster, they could be a dangerous team to play. They could surprise somebody in the first round. And I wouldn't be overly shocked if they really, got a win there. I just wouldn't, just with what they have in-house. And then the Montreal Canadiens. That is an extremely cool story. This is a team that has struggled for a few years now. Caulfield and Suzuki's been there for a little bit. Suzuki, their captain, a great two-way center. Caulfield can, he's had his ups and downs with the Habs, but he can contribute offensively. But, you have such young, promising talent within the Canadiens organization. Them making a wild card in a playoff appearance, I just think is overall good for these young guys. I mean, Lane Hudson has had a incredible year. I think he should win the Calder. What he brings you on the back end is impressive. And if he can keep improving defensively as he gets older and gets more games, and then with the addition of Demidov, who I'm assuming will come next year or even after that, I mean, they have some great talent in the pipeline. And the Canadiens, I will say, they're going to be one of these teams that will be very good for the next probably decade or so. They have a young in the pipeline. Even if they don't hit on every single one, there's just going to be so much talent. While maybe some years they're not Stanley Cup contenders, I think they're always going to be a consistent playoff team. They just have so much talent on that roster and youth. I think some of those guys are going to hit. They're going to mature. They're going to get better. And while maybe some will just kind of reach a ceiling, I think there's so much in that organization right now. They're going to be sitting pretty, in my personal opinion. So the Canadiens currently in the second. The Islanders kind of battling. It's hard for me to believe in the Islanders. It's just kind of the definition of mid. New York Rangers, that's a team that, I mean, they had a horseshoe firmly stuck up their ass against the Vancouver Canucks when they won that game the other night. And the Columbus Blue Jackets won last night. They've been kind of sliding in their last 10 because they were, in this top two in the wild card. But I kind of wonder if they're kind of hitting a wall right now. It's interesting, man. Detroit, I don't really see the Bruins because of how they've been playing, but, you have Detroit, Columbus, the New York Rangers, and Islanders. You have 8 teams in the mix here. And while I think Ottawa's starting to pull away, you have plenty of teams here, and that's what's going to make things exciting. Like, these games down the stretch for most of these teams is going to mean something. And it makes it fun hockey to watch late in the season because these players know exactly what's on the line. DG says, I just tagged you on Facebook writing a post Patrick Wells' reaction to a disallowal. Can you talk about the situation a little bit? Sure, actually, I'll have to pop that up. What are the Bruins drafting the first round, defense or center? So while I kind of go to Facebook real quick, let me talk about that. Trying to find that on Facebook. So what I think the Bruins should draft when it comes to it's whoever's available. Now, if somehow the Bruins, somehow land in the top two or have the ability to drop a guy like Misa or the defenseman in the class, I go with Misa. I go with the center/wing that's going to give you something dynamic offensively. That's kind of what I think. I think when it kind of comes down to it, oh, that is a spicy quote. Oh, that is a really spicy quote. I'm glad you kind of... I'm glad you showed me that, DG. But I think the Bruins, they need to draft a guy like Misa if he's available. Now, and that's a long shot. Now, the Bruins got to really suck down the stretch and just lose out. And it kind of sucks when you watch... I watch all these games, and sometimes it makes me want to consume bleach watching some of these games. But if they lose out and they slide down, it allows them to get a guy that I think is going to be, I think, flirting with that generational label. I think you get him. And if I'm the Bruins, if I could do anything in my power to move up for a guy like me, so I do it. But that's what I think. I think whoever's kind of a best available at the time, that's who they should go with. I think when you kind of pigeonhole yourself into just taking one position or another, like take the best prospect. Sometimes taking your needs fit, but if there's like an extremely good blue liner that you feel is just going to be so much better than the forward you're going to draft, but you're just picking the forward because of a need, pick the defenseman. Pick the best talent. And that might upset some Bruins fans. I firmly believe in drafting the best talent available, especially in the first round. Especially that high up in the draft. Because maybe you don't, quote-unquote, need a defenseman. But with the Bruins, we're not even sure with Hampus Lindholm's injury. I mean, he tried to come back. He got injured. That would be a good thing to get. It's just more quality. I never look down on getting more defensemen. Now, I don't say draft a goalie that high because no goalie should be drafted that high unless they're like an insane prospect. But that's kind of my pot on that. Now, thoughts on that. Now, this is a spicy freaking meatball you just sent me, DG. Let me kind of pop it up here on screen. Actually, I'm going to have to lower your thing. Oh, and I'm going to have to lower the banner, aren't I? Patrick Wallace says, if Toronto is afraid to overturn calls made by their referee, we don't need Toronto. It's Islanders' disallowed goal. Obviously, Patrick Waugh is salty for good reasons. I don't blame Waugh for being frustrated because I feel like there's been some cases of things that have happened that could have been seen in Toronto, could have been dealt with better. And I'm actually going to pull up the disallowed goal. Hold on, because that's going to disallowed goal, because I think that will kind of give a little bit more context to this conversation. I just don't want... I don't want the... because I don't want to take someone else's context. I see a few people have a video up on it. So, you know what I could do is I'll properly credit, I guess. Let's see. All right, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm like trying to find something that actually shows. Okay. Okay. So let me share this tab. I'll do TSN. I don't like taking other content creators' stuff and kind of not giving credit where it's due. So let's see. So TSN, I'll mute it. So they're saying Palmieri. Whoa. All right, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So, like, my thing here is this with that. Wait a minute. So, what? Hold on. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Sometimes the good things will let me a little slow down. So, Palmieri right there. outside the blue. His skate's still kind of on the red of the crease, but, you know, he's there around. Okay, so his heel's right there on the red of the crease. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That's a terrible call. Palmieri's giving him. He's barking at him. Holy shit, that is a terrible call. Because look, I mean, look, that's a better angle. Still on the red. Towards the top of the crease. So, but he does... This is a weird one, right? Because he does make contact with Mulzer, with Elvis. But then Elvis gives him a shove. Puts his glove on him. I don't know, man. That's a... When you slow down things, right, it makes it look worse one way or another. So let me play this just in full speed. Well, they slow it down anyways. All right, so we're going to take care... I don't know about that one. Yeah, and that's the thing. I would actually kind of agree with that. I think the goalie has more than enough opportunity to kind of get set. I don't know about that goal. Like that I mean, that disallowed. That's a little crazy. I think there was enough chance there for Elvis to kind of get set. I think he kind of also understood what Palmieri was and kind of initiated some of that content. Because, like, looking at the foot positioning of Palmieri, he is outside the crease, or he's, like, right on the borderline. I understand Patrick Waugh being pissed about that one. That probably should have stood. And especially when you notice how the goal looked like it was a redirect. I don't think Elvis would have a chance either way. That is a terrible call. I don't see any part of the crease stay in the crease either. Body cross into the crease a little bit. And that's just kind of like, it's like weird. I get protecting the goalies. Mark says, looks clean to me. I think the goalie leaned on him as the player leans forward. His hips pull back over the crease. Cheesy though. I mean, I think Palmieri's just trying to get a screen. I could understand why. I would be pissed if I'm Patrick Waller. I'd be like, what the fuck, man? Like, what do I got to do? Like, we're in this playoff hunt. We're trying to, like, get points, and I'm getting robbed. I do think the going back to Toronto thing, and this is actually my personal opinion. I understand why they have a centralized review thing. I just think it sucks. I do. Personally, I know it would cost the NHL a little bit of money. I think each arena should have a neutral officiating crew. No affiliation with the town or the region or the team coming in, right? Just a neutral crew on station at these arenas to actually do proper reviews in real time there at the arena. So they could see it live, and they can also have the benefit of looking at the replay. It's that's always been my thing. I've always preferred the review not going to Toronto in a phone call. I just think it kind of it makes things a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Just kind of, have an additional crew. I mean, the NFL does that, right? I mean, go look, have the referees look at it and all that. But I do think if you had another crew on standby that just helped the replays, that would also be beneficial. But I don't blame. If I'm Patrick Waugh, I'd be pissed about that. I think that should have been a good goal. A little bit of contact, but he's outside the paint. Maybe you could say the heel of his blade is on the red of the paint, but Elvis has plenty of opportunity to make a save there. It's not like Palmieri ran him over. So that's a dog shit call. That's a dog shit call. I actually appreciate you putting that audible because I'm gonna probably include that in a clip today. So, but back to the Eastern Conference, a lot of teams in it, but I think if Ottawa and Montreal made it, I think Canadians would be happy, not just Canadian fans, but like people in Canada be happy about that. Two Canadian teams outside of Toronto in the East making it. So we got some good hockey to watch. Now out west, we have the Winnipeg Jets have a great year, second overall in the NHL with 100 points. Dallas Stars and Colorado Avalanche. Some interesting teams. So it's weird, right? The Jets to me are this team that's now in like, all right, you got to show me there. You got to show me you can do something this year. You got the best goalie. You got the scoring. You got the defense. You got to show me that you can do it in the playoffs. You can't lay a fucking egg. You can't. The Winnipeg Jets have to do something in this postseason. I want to believe in them. They've had a great year. Nobody cares about the Winnipeg Jets outside of people in Winnipeg. Right? Now, I would love to see them win. I love seeing small markets win. I love when the Jets went back. And they came back, I should say, when the Atlanta Thrashers went back to Winnipeg because, you know, the Atlanta Thrashers, I mean, it is what it is. You want to say the organization with the owner was terrible. It failed twice in Atlanta, right? With the Flames and then with the Thrashers. You go back to a hockey hotbed, and while it's not the biggest population city, they love their team. I want a small market like that to win. So I want the Winnipeg Jets to do good. But they gotta do it this year. They just have to. They have the scoring, and they have the defense, and they have the best goalie on the planet, arguably, right now. But then you got Dallas, and they loaded up. You got Mikko Rantanen, made that big addition. They're a tough team. Lines 1 through 4 can score. D pairs 1 through 4. I mean, all D pairs are good. And then you got Ottinger in net. Ottinger has shown the ability to kind of raise his level of play in the playoffs and hit that elite level. Can he do that this year? Like, the Central is a very, very good division. I think it's funny, right? I think if you move some of these teams in other divisions, they'd probably be the top of that division. It's crazy. With Colorado, they're 8-1-1 in their last 10. They have one of the best players on the planet in Nathan MacKinnon. They ended up making some smart additions at the trade deadline that I think makes this team really good. And the best trade they made of all season was bringing in Mackenzie Blackwood. They brought in Mackenzie Blackwood in net from the Sharks, and he has been fantastic for the Avalanche. And I have been a Blackwood fanboy. I will fully say that. When Blackwood is healthy and playing his game, he's a great goalie. And I think, and we've had my co-host, we might have a show later, another No Agenda Hockey podcast later. He believes Blackwood's better than Kemper, and I actually agree with him. I do. So I think I like what the Avalanche have done. They've solved the goaltending problem. Maybe I wish they had a little bit better of another defenseman there on the third pair, but these top threes in the Central, I wouldn't be shocked if either of them went to the conference finals or represented the West. So you got great teams there in the West, and the West was kind of like a arms race there with the trades. Then you got the Vegas Golden Knights, a team that consistently is always in the thick of things. I mean, the way they're built, they're big, they're heavy, they're fast. They're a difficult team to play against. So that's a playoff team that nobody's looking forward to playing. Really. I mean, you know, you got Aiden Hill, who has shown the ability to get red hot and win a Stanley Cup. So you're kind of high on that. You got the LA Kings, a team that's always a good 200-foot team. You know, they score decently. Defensively, that's where they're going to give you fits because they got a lot of size. Kopitar, one of the best two-way centers in the league. Got some young players alongside of him, like I think Byfield, young player coming along. I like what I see with the Kings as well. I would say Kemper, and I'm actually going to even pull up his stats before I kind of speak out of my butt cheeks. With Darcy Kemper, What's his stats this year? Yeah, he's had a fantastic year. I thought so. He's had a good year. 918 save percentage, 2.13 goals against average. He's given them some good stability in net. He really has. And I mean, they sold him for it's not like, I think it's weird. It's actually weird that trade, right, with Washington and the Kings with PLD and Darcy, I think gave both teams what they need. Gave both teams what they needed. Kings needed a goaltender, and Kemper even had a rough year. They're like, okay. Kings are like, well, we'll get him here and he'll be fine. And the Capitals won a center. I think it was like a win-win trade. A win-win trade for both sides right now. Unless Darcy Kemper kind of falls off the map. The Kings, they're a damn good team. The Oilers, I mean, we know what the Oilers can do. They have the offense. They have Draisaitl, who's having an amazing year this year. He's a player you could say is the best in the NHL right now. Connor McDavid, we know what he is. You got Evan Bouchard. You got Bouchard on the back end. You got some. I think the addition of Wallman, smart addition. I like the Oilers outside of their goaltending. Their goaltending is shit. I don't believe in Stuart Skinner. I don't. I think he's not good. I just don't think he's a starter goalie. I think as a backup, you're fine. But when your goalie has a sub 900 save percentage and can not stop a beach ball, you're not going to win many playoffs. And it's actually crazy. I know Oilers fans are going to roast me for this. Well, we won the finals last year. That's because you guys went on a crazy run. You need your goaltender to save pucks. You do. It ain't like a sub 900 is not good enough. I mean, look at the talent here. Draisaitl, McDavid, Bouchard, crazy good year. Hyman's come back down to earth, but that's kind of expected, right? And I would say secondary scoring wise are Oiler problems as well. But then when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, I was like, okay, you can still manage. But then the goaltending, right? Calvin Pickard is the best statistical goalie on this roster. And that's no shade to the boy Picks. That's a problem. That is a problem. And he's barely got over a 900. He's got a 901. So to me, that's my worry with the Oilers is the goaltending and some of the depth. I think they went on a great run this year. And in a playoff series, if McDavid gets red hot, I would not be overly surprised if they could just dominate offensively some series. But they also need their goaltender to come up with some stops. They do. And I'm not sure. I don't think Stewart will be able to recapture the magic of last year. And I would argue if they had a better goaltender last year, I think the Oilers probably would have won a cup on that miraculous run. So the Oilers are the one team in the Pacific I really can't believe in because of their goaltending, and they got holes on that roster. Then you got, in the wild card in the West, the Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues. St. Louis Blues have been red hot. 6-game win streak, been absolutely brilliant. It's crazy how well they have played recently. They went from kind of not really, still in the playoff picture, but not series guys. But now they're here in the second spot. And they're red hot. And they're a team that, with goaltender like Bennington, and when he gets hot, and how they're playing right now, have fun. Have fun, because they might be a very difficult team to play against. And what is going on here? What messages are here? Okay, cool. Sorry, just looking at your crew change that they popped up. But yeah, I mean, Blues have been good. Minnesota Wild, they're a team I could kind of worry about, sliding a little bit. But I think they have enough of a cushion here to survive. In the West, it's a little bit more, I would say, laid out here. Who's going to be a playoff team? Who's not? Vancouver Canucks. Hard for me to believe in them. Calgary Flames, 3-game win streak, nice, but I think it's going to take them another year or two to get there. Anaheim Ducks have been, well, they're six. Sorry, Utah Hockey Club. They're young. Same thing with the Ducks, young. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just kind of how it looks out in the West, if these are the two teams, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Blues go to the 1 spot and the Minnesota Wild slip to 2 in that wild card. So, I think all in all, it's been. I think out east is a far more closer race, and it makes the games a little bit more meaningful. In the Western Conference, I mean, you got a couple teams in the thick of it, but really, it's. I think those teams currently in the wild card spot are going to eventually be the wild card representation in the Western Conference. So, now, solo dolo today, baby. So before I get out of here, kind of want to talk about something really quick. I am going to be posting more on my weight loss channel. This is a hockey channel. If this already bores you, you can click off the video. So for y'all that don't know, and I'll just kind of open up here a bit. Last, I would say 2.5, 3 years have been a wild ride for me. If you're new to the channel and don't know this, I got injured on the tugboats. I broke my hip, tore my labrum, essentially made it so I couldn't physically walk normal for about a year and a half, 2 years. It was a long recovery process, and there was a whole lot of hoopla with that of even just getting the surgery because my work was being a pain in the ass and improving through the insurance, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to bore you with all the details. But due to that, while I'll never say I was the slimmest of figures, I gained some weight. And unfortunately, this past year, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and that didn't help. And she passed this past August. And one of the things I do struggle with is like when I'm stressed, when I'm, just call it what it is, sad, I'm going to eat. Like, I'm going to eat to try to kind of like, and then like one of the fondest memories I had with me and my mother is like we'd go out late to eat because like I worked odd schedules and I had a weird schedule because I worked on tugboats. I working through the night. We'd go meet up at like 11, midnight, sometimes 1 in the morning, and we would just sit in the car or sit at a diner and talk for hours, very late at night. That being said, I've gotten out of shape. Now, I need to lose probably around 40, 50 pounds. I'm a little bit lucky. It distributes nicely on my body, but, it's been a hell of a ride. The inability to walk for such a long time did not help things. But I also didn't make the best decisions when it came to eating and kind of taking care of myself. And some of that was just due to ingrained habits of growing up, like because I did play hockey every day. I still eat like I play hockey, and I don't play hockey, so I don't burn the calories I used to where I'd skate. When I'd skate like 2 to 3 times a day. And, like, okay, oh, wow, I can eat garbage. And I'm just going to burn it off anyway. So, it doesn't really matter what I eat. But then, as you get older, your metabolism definitely changes because I'm not expending the calories I was when I was younger. And while I do work in a hard line of work, it's not to the equivalent of skating for 2 to 3 hours a day, hustling and things of that nature. I want to be kind of a better example of what people can do when they become more disciplined. I want to take a little bit more accountability, and I want to document the journey of becoming healthier. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be all salads and like, water, because it's not. I'm honest with myself, and I'm going to be honest with my viewers. Like, I might have the occasional cocaine. I mean, Coke. Government, if you're listening, I'm saying Coca-Cola. It's a joke. Relax. I get drug tests anyway, so you'd find that out. But when it comes down to it, I'll probably still have the occasional cheat, but I do overall want to eat healthier. I want to be more, active. I've signed up for some men's leagues in some as a reserve. Unfortunately, I haven't, like, there hasn't been some open spots the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to go to public hockey and skate more. I'm going to document a lot of this stuff, whether it's like skating, whether it's, just going out for a walk and just giving my thoughts on the journey and kind of doing some like weight, I would say weight check-ins, I guess, maybe every month. But to me, I find it's very important that you gotta take care of yourself as you get older. You gotta take care of yourself regardless, but as we get older, and I would say mortality becomes more of a serious conversation. I don't want to be one of these 67-year-olds that have like strokes, like multiple strokes or multiple heart attacks because when I was younger, I didn't do the right thing. I'm in my early 30s. I'm not ancient. I'm getting there, but I'm not ancient. But I want to make the right choices now. So maybe physically, I feel in a year or so way better than I did in my late 20s, early 30s because I'm taking care of myself and doing the right thing. And maybe I inspire a person or two to like, hey, like it doesn't have to be a sprint. It can be a marathon. Because that is also one of the struggles when it comes to weight loss, in my personal opinion, is these, like you'll try a trend. You'll try like one of these trends where it's like intermittent fasting, right? Or various different things where it could work for that short stretch of time, but if you don't utilize that for the rest of your life, it's not sustainable and then you pack on the pounds. And yeah, I mean, am I going to do daily uploads on the weight loss channel? No. Maybe I'll make like, when I go for walking and I video some of it, I'll like splice footage together type stuff and make like a couple, 2 to 3 videos a week. But I just want to be a better example. And as somebody that wants to be a father, I want to be around for my kids for their life, for the whole life. And maybe I inspire a few people down the road like, hey, like it can be a long journey, but it can be worth it in the end. So, when it comes down to it, check out the channel if you want to. I don't have it linked right now in the live stream, but I'll put it in the description when I get done here. But give it a like, a follow, or whatever if you want to. And, yeah, I mean, I'll kind of go from there. But I'm going to wrap it up for No Agenda Hockey episode 9. This is my first solo DOLO BOLO video. And I like doing live streams. It's fun. I'm probably going to take a few of these clips and splice them into standalone videos, like the Patrick Wall one. I think will be standalone. But, yeah, I just... life is short. I've learned that definitely in the last few years more than most. That like life is short and procrastination can be a bitch. And when you procrastinate, oh, I can get better. Like, why keep putting it off when you can be better right now and try to be better right now? So, all right. I appreciate everybody that kind of popped through the stream. I'll see you guys in the next one. And if appreciate if you hit that like, comment, and subscribe, because if you don't, you hate white people. See you in the next one. That's not going to go over well.